how on earth do you determine what is valuable and what isn't? What companies are valuable? What projects? What assets? The basic principles are great, but how do we actually break the numbers down? Let's talk about that. We're seeking value. We want to buy something that rewards us greatly for our locked up liquidity. So, how do we ensure that the company or project or asset that we're buying is a good one? How do we know that they aren't going to go bankrupt? Well, to simplify it, there are a few core elements that I look at. I want to know the assets that the company has. What do they have that holds value or produces value? I want to know the liabilities, anything that's deducting from the value that isn't productive in nature, that doesn't hold inherent value. Subtract the liabilities from the assets, and ideally, we'd like to have a remaining value that's more than the total market cap of the company or project. The ones that have a market cap that is much lower than that calculated value, those are the ones that can get quite rewarding. So we want to break it down a little further and analyze the productive elements of the company. What is it that will increase the value over time? How much of that do they have? What progress is being made? Do they have permanent access to that? Do they own it? Are they renting it? Is there some risk to that productive element? Those types of questions can get you out of some bad trades before they begin. And then next, we want to make sure that the company is aligned with a trend of some sort. We've talked about this a bit before. We'll talk about it some more. We want to make sure that it follows a solid trend. And is the future growth of the company following that trend? Or is it the assets that they hold? Or, is it something that's at risk? Is it something that has a chance of failure? We want to gain from the trend, so the element within the company that's gaining from that trend needs to be reliable. It needs to be sturdy. We need to make sure that it isn't going to disappear. And if we can do that, then we're well on our way to a successful trade. And that brings the question, how long do we hold the asset? How long do we hold the company? This is fairly subjective, but my rule of thumb is that I hold it as long as it appears to maintain my minimum threshold for productivity. I set a threshold of return that I want from that asset, from that company. And if it appears to lose that level of potential in the mid to long term, then I exit the asset. I'm not too worried about the short term because those are risky trades anyway, and I'm trying to ease myself into the mid to long term range. So, for example, if I buy an option and I'm expecting a return of 1,000%, and it goes up in value within the time frame that I expected, then I reassess the value. Maybe it went up 200%, maybe 100, maybe 500%, but does it still have 1,000% potential? And if not, I exit the asset. Because on this earth, opportunities are more abundant, more plentiful than anything else. There will always be another 1,000%. And if that's my threshold, then I pivot whenever my potential drops below it. So how do we decide that threshold? That's up to each person, but I think it depends on your perception of your ability to find new trades within that range. Is it going to take you a month to find a trade at that level? A year, a day? That threshold should be based on our ability to replace the high potential trades that we're rejecting. Or the formerly high potential trades that we're rejecting. So once we're able to consistently produce those new trade opportunities, we have much more freedom to operate at that level. And that's a very simplistic way of viewing it, but if you guys would like to discuss that more, we certainly can. So to recap, assets, liabilities, market cap, elements fueling growth in a trend that we've identified, and finally, a threshold of return that acts as a compass for when to stay in a trade and when to get out of a trade. With those 5 elements, you can go far. Buy cheap, high-value things, and hold them as long as fits your strategy, and you'll do well. If you guys would like to delve further into this, please hit me up in the comments or reach out in the Trader's Journey Discord. I'd love to chat. Right now I'm delving into the diesel shortage. Let me know what trades you guys are looking into and which ones you're most excited for. And remember, in every market crash, there's a silver lining. Or at least there ought to be. Be prepared. Lock in your financial anchors. The storm has only just begun, and it's going to get worse. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week.